Hey, welcome to Models and Agents, episode 22. It's March 29th, 2026. Another day, another wave of meaningful AI progress hitting the streets. This week, the releases feel less like flashy demos and more like tools that actually solve real engineering problems developers have been complaining about for the past year. Let's break it down. We're starting with what I consider the most important story this week, Naver's Seoul World Model. This isn't just another video generation paper. It's a genuinely smart attack on one of the biggest failure modes in current world models. Naver trained a video world model using over 1 million of its own real street view images from Seoul. Instead of relying purely on synthetic data or scraped internet video, they grounded the entire training process in actual measured city geometry. The result is a model that can generate coherent street-level video while respecting real urban layouts, and remarkably, it generalizes to other cities without any additional fine-tuning. This is the kind of concrete engineering win that actually moves the needle. Most current world models are fantastic at creating plausible-looking footage, but they happily hallucinate entire buildings, invent impossible road layouts, and break geometric consistency after just a few seconds. Naver's approach directly tackles that problem by injecting real 3D consistent street data into the generation pipeline. Think about what this means. For anyone building robotics, autonomous driving simulation, AR, VR, city experiences, or geospatial digital twins, geometric hallucinations have been a constant source of pain. You can't reliably train navigation policies or test planning algorithms if the simulated world keeps inventing new streets that don't exist. By anchoring generation in real street view geometry, Naver has created something that feels substantially more trustworthy for these use cases. What's particularly impressive is the generalization capability. The model wasn't just overfit to Seoul's specific architecture, it learned patterns that transfer to other cities that share similar urban design principles. That suggests they've found a way to separate the geometric prior from the visual style in a useful way. For developers working on spatial AI, this is one of the more exciting releases so far this year. The technique could easily become a standard pattern for grounding future world models in verifiable real-world data rather than hoping scale alone solves consistency issues. Watch is whether Naver decides to open source any part of the pipeline or releases an API that lets other teams use this grounding approach for different cities. Either way, the paper is worth reading carefully. Transitioning from vision to voice. While Naver was solving geometric consistency in video, Mistral AI dropped a significant piece of their audio puzzle. They released Voxtral TTS, a 4B parameter open-weight text-to-speech model that supports streaming generation and multiple languages. This release completes Mistral's audio stack after their earlier work on transcription and language models. What makes Voxtral particularly interesting is its focus on low-latency streaming, making it suitable for real-time conversational applications rather than just batch processing. In practical terms, this gives developers a genuinely high-quality, fully open, self-hostable alternative to proprietary voice APIs like ElevenLabs or Azure TTS. You can now run multilingual, low-latency voice output on your own hardware or in your own cloud environment without worrying about rate limits, pricing changes, or sudden policy shifts from a commercial provider. The 4B parameter size strikes an excellent balance, small enough to run efficiently on modest hardware while still delivering natural prosody and emotional range. For teams building voice interfaces, accessibility tools, or multilingual customer experiences, this is immediately useful. I'd encourage you to try it this week if voice has been on your roadmap. From voice to self-improving agents. Speaking of practical agent progress, Meta and university researchers published work on what they're calling hyperagents. These aren't just standard agents that solve tasks. They're systems that also optimize the mechanisms they use to improve at those tasks. This is an important conceptual step beyond current agentic systems. Most agents today focus exclusively on completing the immediate task in front of them. Hyperagents take it further by treating their own improvement strategies as something they can iterate on and optimize. The results reportedly show strong performance across different task domains, suggesting the approach isn't just narrow cherry-picking. This points toward the kind of self-accelerating capabilities many of us have been theorizing about for years. It's still early, but the direction feels right. I see this as part of a broader shift from agents that do work to agents that get better at doing work. The difference might seem subtle now, but it compounds dramatically over time, staying current with evolving tools. Google tackled a different but equally frustrating problem this week. They introduced a new agent skill for the Gemini API that supplies up-to-date SDK knowledge directly to the model. This is such a pragmatic solution to a fundamental limitation. Foundation models are frozen at their training cutoff. They have no native way of knowing about API changes, new SDK features, or documentation updates that happened after they were trained. By packaging current SDK knowledge as an explicit skill the model can reference, Google has dramatically improved the model's ability to write correct code against their latest APIs. Early results show substantial gains in coding tasks involving recent SDK versions. This pattern is likely to spread. I expect other labs to adopt similar approaches for keeping their models current with their own rapidly evolving toolkits. It's a smart acknowledgement that we can't just keep retraining massive models every time an SDK changes. Lightweight agent frameworks worth your attention. On the agent framework side, HCUD's released Nanobot, an ultra-lightweight personal AI agent framework implemented in roughly 4,000 lines of Python. What makes this release special isn't just its small size, but the detailed coding guide that walks you through manually recreating each subsystem. The framework includes tools, memory, skills, subagents, and even cron scheduling. But more importantly, the accompanying guide lets you understand the architecture from first principles by building it yourself. In an ecosystem full of increasingly complex frameworks, this minimal but complete implementation feels refreshing and educational. If you want to deeply understand how modern agent systems work under the hood, Nanobot might be one of the best resources available right now. Complementing that, there's been some excellent writing about using OpenClaw as a genuine force multiplier. The article explores practical patterns solo developers and small teams can use to dramatically increase their output with mature agentic systems. It moves beyond toy examples into how to ship actual production-grade work using agents. This feels particularly relevant for indie hackers and small teams who don't have large engineering organizations but still want to compete on velocity. The piece does a good job of showing sustainable patterns rather than just prompting your way to temporary productivity spikes. Some P. Practical web infrastructure notes. On the more infrastructural side, Google introduced a new user agent entity called Google Agent to distinguish between user-triggered AI requests and traditional autonomous Googlebot crawling. This seemingly small change has immediate implications for anyone managing robots.txt rules, rate limiting, or access control for AI-powered features. If you run a public web service, understanding this distinction is now required knowledge. The line between user behavior and bot behavior is getting increasingly blurry, and Google is starting to formalize it. Finally, a valuable perspective from Matt Webb. Matt Webb published a thoughtful piece arguing that while agentic coding can eventually grind almost any problem into dust given enough tokens and iterations, sustainable progress still requires strong underlying libraries and thoughtful architecture. He makes the point that we should be shifting our focus from how many lines of code can the agent write to what architectural decisions are we making. This feels like exactly the right evolution as more developers move from prompt hacking to building maintainable, long-lived agentic systems. It's a valuable reminder that agents amplify your existing engineering taste. They don't replace the need for it. Why? You should actually try this week. Dig into Naver's Seoul World Model paper and think about how real geometry grounding could improve your spatial AI or simulation projects. The difference between synthetic and grounded world models is becoming too large to ignore for anything involving navigation or robotics. Experiment with Mistral's new Voxtral TTS-4B, especially if you need low-latency multilingual voice. The fact that it's open-weight and self-hostable changes the economics significantly. Test. Google's new agent skill on any coding tasks involving recent SDKs or APIs. The improvement is reportedly substantial enough to change your workflow. If you're architecturally curious, work through the Nanobot coding guide. Rebuilding a complete 4,000-line agent system is one of the best ways to develop intuition about these systems. Try OpenClaw for a personal project or small automation task. See what one-person velocity actually looks like with mature tooling. On the horizon, we should see further releases from Mistral expanding the Voxtral audio family in coming months. There's also potential open sourcing or API access for Naver's grounded world model technology. More labs will likely adopt variations of Google's agent skill pattern and will continue to see progress on hyperagent-style self-improving systems before We go keep an eye on how developers start experimenting with these new grounded world model techniques in practical robotics and simulation projects over the next few weeks. The applications could get interesting quickly. That wraps up today's AI briefing. If you found this valuable, share it with a developer or builder who wants to stay current. Subscribe wherever you listen, and I'll see you tomorrow. This podcast is curated by Patrick, but generated using AI voice synthesis of my voice using ElevenLabs. The primary reason to do this is I unfortunately don't have the time to be consistent with generating all the content and wanted to focus on creating consistent and regular episodes for all the themes that I enjoy, and I hope others do as well.